Joining us right now, one of the elite wide receivers on the planet as he gets set, as him and his Green Bay Packers take on the red-hot New York Giants, and that is Greg Jennings. Greg, Joe, and Evan here in New York. How you doing today, sir?
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Hey, we're doing fantastic. And obviously, we'll talk about this game and your team. But first of all, the Greg Jennings Foundation, Be Great. I know that you're starting to do some events with Derek Jeter. You're both from Kalamazoo. Tell us more about your foundation, Greg.
Well, the Greg Jennings Foundation is geared towards youth and education. And simply what we're trying to do is just give the youth a sense of empowerment through the tools of education, with knowing that they can educate themselves and empower themselves and not have to depend on someone else to actually give them material things that could eventually be taken away.
That's good stuff, Greg. It really is. Let me ask you this, Greg. How are you feeling? Because I know you've been obviously you had the injury, you've been banged up. I mean, you're raring to go though Sunday, right?
I am. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm gonna get my good practice in tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. And again, haven't been out there for a good little bit, so I'm eager to get back out there and help the team in any way I can.
Now, for you, the bye week certainly helps overcoming the injury. But do you think that there's any risk that this offense, which by the way continued to play well even with Matt Flint quarterback, with Aaron Rodgers taking a break, is there any concern that the bye could leave you guys flat as you start that game on Sunday?
Well, I think there's always a bit of concern with that, and in that respect of being a little flat, and not just an offense, but as a team. But I think the things that we've done last week and during practice, we're trying to make sure that we kept abreast of what we were accustomed to doing, sharpening ourselves and self-scouting and things like that, the 2-minute drills and the no huddles and different things like that. So we've tried to eliminate that piece of the puzzle, if you will, that teams kind of struggle with coming off a bye. But we fared pretty well off byes, so we're not really too concerned of it, but we're definitely aware of it.
How much does it help you, Greg, that you played the Giants earlier in the year already? I mean, I know they gave you a tough game. You did beat them at the Meadowlands, but is that a plus going into this game on Sunday?
It's always a plus when you play an opponent and you get some sense of familiarity with an opponent, but at the same time, that's regular season. Obviously, that is neither here nor there, but you do draw a lot of different things from that game. There are a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, a lot of things that we can build on and things that you can look back and reflect and definitely game plan. So I think there's a definitely positive for both teams knowing that we played one another.
When we think of the Packers, we think about your quarterback and how insane he's playing. I mean, he's having an all-time great season. And, we look at how he sat behind Brett Favre for a couple of years. Then he finally takes over, and he was ready to go right away. Do you think that sitting behind Brett, maybe learning from Brett, is part of the reason why Aaron has had such great success so quickly here in the NFL?
I think it's definitely part of the reason why. I think that anytime you can sit back and learn and kind of sponge off a guy like Brett, and not only just off a guy like Brett, but off a coach like Tom Clemens, and off a coach like Mike McCarthy. I think it bodes well for not only the player, but the team. And Aaron was able and fortunate to be able to be in that situation. Now, obviously, you want to start and go in with all gears up and wheels on the ground and rolling right away. But for him, it wasn't the case, and he's definitely made the best of it as well, with his preparation himself.
And how about you getting to play with both Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers? How would you compare the two guys in that huddle?
There's some similarities, and then there's some differences. Obviously, they both like to joke around, keep the huddle nice and relaxed and calm, keep guys comfortable within the huddle. I think Aaron brings a little bit more focus, and I say focus. I know Brett was focused, but Aaron is more like straight to the point. Brett kept the huddle a little looser from a standpoint of joking around, making sure guys were loose. But from a standpoint of leading the team and being in the huddle, they're very similar.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot, Greg. Who's better?
I'm going to stick with what I said the other day. I definitely think Aaron is a better quarterback, and I think it was kind of thrown out of proportion a little bit. At the stage of his career where he is and where Brett was at this point in his career, Aaron's definitely the better quarterback. Now, obviously, Brett has the experience and the longevity there, and he did it for such a long time. But they bring different things to the table. I think the one thing that kind of separates Aaron from a lot of quarterbacks, not only just Brett Favre, is the fact that he's so disciplined with himself and with that ball in his hands. He's so aware of the turnover and the takeaway advantage. And I think when you play with that and you can control that and not let it get the best of you, some guys are too aware of it, and that's when they kind of, have the high interceptions, and then some are careless. Brett was more of the careless at times, but there was a give and take. There was some big plays he made. He was a gunslinger, and Aaron, he takes shots, but he's smart in his ways that he goes about taking those chances.
Yeah, I thought that quote that you made was taken, I won't say out of context, but it was blown up bigger than it was because, like you said, you played with Brett in his last 2 years with the Green Bay Packers, which is towards the end of his career. You didn't play with him in the heart of his career. You're playing with Aaron Rodgers in the heart of his career. I would certainly hope you think Aaron Rodgers is better than Brett Favre.
Exactly, and that's what I think people really don't understand is I wasn't there with, in Brett's, climbing years. I was there not so much of at a decline, but, it was kind of at a plateau, so I'm with Aaron when he started, and he's definitely peaking at the right time, and I've been able to experience that. And, when you're playing with, there's probably a 14-year, 15-year difference in years as far as the career goes between I and Brett and I. So that was, it is what it is. But like I said, I'm going to stick Aaron. I definitely think if they play the same amount of years, Aaron ends up having the longevity that Brett sustained. Definitely, Aaron will be the better quarterback.
Talking to Greg Jennings, of course, of the world champion Packers as they get ready for the divisional playoff game with the Giants in Lambeau on Sunday. Greg, was it almost a blessing that you guys lost the game during the season? How about that? I mean, when you look back now, and maybe, if you win another Super Bowl, I don't know, maybe you'll think that. But right now, do you think it's almost a blessing that you didn't have that pressure of that undefeated thing hanging over your head?
I think it's, I definitely think that it was definitely something that we needed at the time. And the reason why I say that is exactly what you mentioned and alluded to, is the pressure of going 16-0 and carrying that into the playoffs creates a totally different monster. Now it creates the fact that this team hasn't suffered a loss. They don't know what it is to, suffer a loss. So now you got that going into a playoff run. And, it's just not, it's just bad. It's great if you can take off and
right.
Clean slate it, but, it's tough to do in this league. And I think that loss kind of put everything in perspective and put it in perspective in a sense from our standpoint that we're a team that can be beat. And so is every other team in this league. And we've understood that, and I think every other team understands that. That's why you can't take any game for granted.
We're talking to Greg Jennings of the Green Bay Packers as the Packers and Giants get set for their matchup Sunday afternoon. I heard that you had a chance to talk to Victor Cruz after the Giant-Packer game. What did you say to the guy? What do you think of him? Because he has had, you talk about a coming-out-of-nowhere type of season. He's had a great breakthrough season.
Well, I just simply told him that I love his game. I absolutely love his game. And, being an underdog sometimes works out well for you. But I just told him to keep doing what he's doing. And he's playing on a high level. And he's brought it to himself. And obviously he had a stellar year this year. And he's continued to play well. And he's continued to produce. And, just unfortunately for us, we have some pretty stellar corners, so hopefully he doesn't produce like he has been in the past. But he's an exciting player to watch. As a receiver, you got to respect him. You got to enjoy watching a guy like that can make plays at any given moment in the game.
Greg, I got to ask you this, and the cat's out of the bag already. You guys won the game back at the Meadowlands and all that, but there was a very controversial play in that game in my mind where they gave you a touchdown, and I don't think you had control of the ball going out of bounds. Now the game's over. You guys won it already. How about that?
I totally disagree. I think that, if you go back and you look at the film, number one, being the guy that actually had the ball in his hands, like I knew. Now, I didn't know where the defender was, but I definitely had control of the ball. It was one of those fingertip catches, and I knew that I was coming to the back of the end zone, so I couldn't really move the ball around, so I just kind of held it right there, and the guy came and swiped it out. But if you look at the film, you'll see that I have the ball, and if you slow it down, I put it in my left hand, and he knocks it out. So, it was a catch, but it could have been turned over either way, and it was a close call. Fortunately for me and for us, we got the call, but it is what it is now.
What is your view on Eli as you get to watch him from the other sideline? Earlier this year, he said, I'm an elite quarterback, and I think he's backed it up this season, but give me your take on Eli Manning, the quarterback.
I like Eli at quarterback. I think he's a very poised quarterback. When he has time, he can hurt you in several ways. I think he's very accurate. He can make every throw on the field. And I think he's a great leader. I think one of the number one things that I've seen out of Eli over the course of his career is his ability to step up in pressure situations and in crunch time. Given a 2-minute situation, he can definitely put the team on his back and pull through a game for those guys. But, we feel like we have a pretty solid quarterback too. But Eli, he's definitely a good quarterback. And I think Peyton has always outshined Eli because of what Peyton has been able to do. But Eli's been that little brother, but he's definitely making a name for himself.
It's interesting, Greg, and again, we're talking to Greg Jennings of the world champion Packers. They'll play the Giants on Sunday, of course, in the divisional round at Lambeau. Quite a different situation for you guys this year, though, than last year, Greg. Last year you guys kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but you were a wild card. You were the 6th seed. You had to go on the road and win 3 road playoff games and then go on and win the Super Bowl. This year, you're the team. You guys are the, I think, unquestioned, acknowledged best team in the NFL. You're 15-1. You have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. It's a totally different scenario this time than last year. How about that? How about that aspect as you make this run to try to make it 2 in a row?
It really is a very different scenario, and we've kind of gone over that as a team and as individuals. We understand that the mindset has to be a little different. The number one thing that we like about it is we get to play in front of our home crowd. But I think too, with being in this position, you play for this position. You play to put yourself in the best situation. And although we have the bye week and it sometimes can go against and seem to work against you sometimes, I think that definitely won't be the case this week. But again, you work to be the number 1 seed, and it's a different mindset you have to have. But at the same time, we still have the same goal, and the mindset and the goal hasn't changed. We want to win the Super Bowl, and the only way we can do that is if we take care of business come Sunday.
When you think of a lot of the big-time offenses in NFL history, a lot of them played indoors. The Vikings in '98, the greatest show on turf with the St. Louis Rams, even the Saints. And you guys are this big-time offensive, high-octane team, and you play at Lambeau Field. Is there any concern that if the weather gets a little dicey and it's snowing, that the offense could be stalled a little bit, that your own weather conditions could actually hurt you as you go deeper into the playoffs?
Oh, that's always the case when you're a team that kind of rely on big offensive explosions, and you're kind of a pass first team. I think that can always be the case, but I think our running game is starting to come on. I think Ryan Grant and those guys, they really thrive in running in the cold weather. I feel like Ryan has always been one of those guys that when the weather gets worse, he gets better. So we're looking for him to have a big game. And again, when the weather changes, you have to change your mindset and your mental state. So the guys are going to be ready to play. We expect it to be whatever the temperature is. I'm standing outside now, so I'm getting acclimated as we speak.
Greg, before I let you go, tell us again about the Greg Jennings Foundation, if you will.
The Greg Jennings Foundation is geared towards youth and education. And again, we just try to empower youth with the tools of educating themselves. So we try to give kids a step forward in life and leave a positive, lasting influence on their lives so that they can understand that that's what it's all about, is being a help to someone else and allowing them to empower themselves.
Greg, we appreciate it. Good luck
Greg.
on Sunday.
Good luck Sunday. You're class act, Greg, and good talking to you.
I appreciate it, guys. If you have Victor Cruz on, tell him to slow down now.
You got him, man.
You be well.
All right, guys.
There is Greg Jennings, who is one of the best wide receivers on the planet. That's for sure. Had a great year.